Welcome to Confessions of a Parent Coach. I'm parent coach, mother of four, and your host, Ann Kaplan. This is the podcast where you will learn that even for parenting experts like me, there is no such thing as a perfect parent, and that fabulous behavior and amazing relationships are right on the other side of that realization. If you're working your butt off to do right by your kid, honor yourself, and go beyond the BS around you, you are my person, and this podcast is for you. Full disclosure, I'm a sometimes potty talker, and we deal with the challenge of raising kids here. This podcast is for grown-ups, so stick your earbuds in and let's do this. Welcome into another episode of the podcast, everybody. I'm excited to be here again with you this week. I'm recording again this is like kind of my favorite room of the house, even though it's not my room. This magical white pine room is the name that we've given this room. And I just love that it has its own, you can't see it, but I'm looking right now at the lake. I'm looking out the sliding glass door right onto the patio and the lake beyond. And it's just so magical and mystical. If you're watching the video here, I'll try to show it to you. Let's see if I can do it. I'm not very good at aiming a computer, but you can see, even see down to the lake and the giant centerpiece of flowers that I have on the patio table and everything. So it's sort of becoming my happy place. And I'll be honest, I'm a little bit, this is the calm before the storm right now. A lot of times people are like blown away at the retreat by like how calm I am and how well everything's all organized and how well cared for everybody is and all that stuff. But what people don't understand is that at the retreat, I'm hosting about 8 people, give or take, sometimes down to 5, sometimes up to 10. When I'm running my house for the summer, I'm hosting like 20 people. I think the most people we've had here is 22 people. So 8 people just feels like a really nice, cozy family and so manageable. And so right now is the calm before the storm for me this summer. I'm recording these episodes in early June. And starting next week, I just have a revolving door of house guests, and it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. There's like a week at the end of June where we have about 18 people going to be here for my husband's family reunion that we host every year. And then my family descends and they're here in various degrees for the rest of the summer. So I'm gonna have to give up this room because it's not my room. I don't stay in this room. I just been using it for my office, and I'm gonna miss it. Even just every time I turn the camera on and I see it behind me, I'm like, oh, this makes me take like a little relaxing breath just to look at it in the camera. So this room has just such good energy and such good vibes. If anybody is thinking of coming on the retreat, reach out to me. I really hope that this backdrop is giving you inspiration and encouragement to just be at the lake. And I was just talking to a friend of mine who's coming to visit. She's like, I want to get you a present. What do you need? Do you want some earrings? You want some this? You want some that? And I'm like, honestly, when I'm at the lake, like it's basically like camping in the sense that it's like very anything goes and very relaxed, but it's like being in a resort in the sense that there's like all this luxury and everything around here. So like I haven't worn pants since I got here a month ago. Like I'm just wearing like shorts or workout clothes, or sometimes I wear my pajamas all day. It's all anything goes. So I told her, you can get me earrings, but I probably won't wear them until I get back to Colorado. I don't know, like all the fancy stuff just falls away and we're just like here in the woods. It's magical. Which brings me to the topic that I'm going to talk about today. So maybe a couple months ago, a friend of mine introduced me to, there's a podcast out there. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're into podcasts, I'm going to recommend another podcast to you. I hope I don't lose you to that podcast. I hope it just is added to your repertoire. It's the podcast called Here and Now. And it's all recordings of Ram Dass teaching. So if anybody knows who Ram Dass is, you probably have at least heard the word, heard the name. He actually started out in this world as a man named Richard Alpert. And then in the 60s, he went through a huge psychedelic and spiritual transformation. He started following his guru, Maharaji, and he took on his devotee name, which was Ram Dass. And he spent the rest of his life teaching all of this wisdom about spiritual transformation and enlightenment and growing. And he wrote the book, Be Here Now, all of that stuff. So anyway, my friend introduced me to this podcast and I'm totally obsessed. And it has really just, I mean, it's just such a good compliment to all of the work that I'm doing on myself personally, and a compliment to the work that I do with my clients, the things that we talk about here on this podcast, all of those things. It just all kind of comes together. I feel like when you start on these kinds of sort of personal growth journeys, you just start sort of curating all of this stuff. And what we start to see is that everything is the same. And we're just coming at it from all these different angles. We're all touching different parts of the elephant. You know, that the parable of the blind man and the elephant. I'll tell it to you in a minute if you don't know it. So Ram Dass saying "Be Here Now," or Eckhart Tolle writing this book, The Power of Now. All Thich Nhat Hanh talking about being in the present. All of these teachers are really all saying the same thing. We are all one. This moment is the only moment. And if we could really live in that awareness, what a world it would be. And even if only we are living in that awareness and the people around us aren't, still, what a world you would live in, right? So I've been totally binging Ram Dass right now. I will say the weirdest thing about the podcast is like listening to like a commercial for like Nationwide Insurance or something like that right before you listen to Ram Dass talk about something or start chanting or whatever. It's a little jarring, but you know what? Everyone's got to pay the bills and keep the lights on. So no judgment. But one thing that I've listened to him kind of tell this story a few different times in his speeches, and it really struck a chord with me, and I thought I might want to share it with you today, is this idea about doing the curriculum. I guess I have to first start with a confession for you. And I bet you will be able to resonate with this confession. I think we've all done this in different ways, or this is true for me anyway. Like when I first started doing all of this personal growth work that you hear me talk about every week, back in, let's see, when I really first start embarking on all of this stuff was probably maybe 16 years ago or something like that. I would kind of get this, you listen to a teacher talk to you about, this is the way to be, or this is the way the world really works. And it's so inspirational. Like that's a part of my personality is just really being drawn to these sort of like really magical mentor people and emulating them and really being totally inspired by them. And what I do a lot with that is to, this is the way to be here now, right? There's no need to be attached to things. There's no need to, be fixated on my emotions or to even feel negative emotions and, blah, 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 blah. It's like the ego gets this magical thing that's not egoic. There's an epiphany that's happening inside of you. And then the ego grabs it and makes a rule about it, especially the ego of the one. That's how I work. My Enneagram type 1 personality functions by making rules. That's the mechanism of the one. So everything that I hear, it gets transmuted into a rule. Oh, be here now. Therefore, not being here now, that's bad. That's wrong. The rule is to be here now. And now it's coming from a rule. So it becomes egoic and blah, 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 blah. And that's something that I think is really common. It may not be
made that way by a rule. Your mechanism might be slightly different, but this idea of this categorizing things as good and bad, and then trying to, eschew all of the things that you've decided are bad and only be in the light and all of that stuff. Well, true non-attachment, true acceptance is that we accept that there is all of it. There is darkness and light. There's positive and negative. There's comfortable and uncomfortable, all of those things, instead of deciding we want it to be all like this all of the time. So I want you to think about like a place in your life where you are doing that. Oftentimes it is about parenting. This is the right way to parent. I'm stuck in this loop right now. And here comes a little bit of example of my confession to you. One of my kiddos is part of their personality that they're just very negative. And they often feel a little bit victimized socially. Most conversations with them are like, they're just listening to them, list all of the hardships or mistreatments or ways that they've been maligned or whatever by the people around them or by the circumstances, and things aren't quite good enough. Things aren't satisfactory. Things are just not, they're missing the mark, and everything sucks. Is very, very, very hard for me to listen to. And something that I've been sort of toying around with now that my kiddo's a little bit older, not just a little baby or a little school-aged kid who really doesn't have the ability to take in sort of reciprocal information. My kids aren't that age anymore. They're older. And I've been toying around with the fact that like, I just really have a lot of like, frankly, I'm going to say this in a strong way just because it's illustrates a point, but I have a lot of maybe like revulsion or repellent feelings in conversations with my kid because I can't stand being around this like negative, woe is me worldview. It's very hard for me, which is my deal. That's my own issue. It's nothing about my kid. But I have a rule in my mind that this is what a good parent is. A good parent is totally connected and compassionate and present and non-attached in the face of their child's, whining and complaining festival. And that's something that I used to be able to do a lot more, but recently I'm just kind of reaching my breaking point. And I have this all or nothing idea of like, I'm supposed to only be in my divinity as a parent, not in my humanity as a parent. I'm supposed to be not the best version of me. I'm supposed to be the divine version of me. I am supposed to be like this earth mother goddess person and really deny the humanness that I also bring to my parenting because I am a human. The part of me that maybe expresses some irritation to my kid, the part of me that basically says, I can't listen to this anymore. And that's my deal. It's not on you, but I need a break. Like, or I get that you see the world this way. I don't see it that way. And it really hurts my heart to listen to you talk this way. That's a part of me, like, even as I'm saying it to you, I have a very strong part of me that says, like, you can't say that to your kid. Now, I just also want to, like I said before, this kiddo is basically an adult. Like, I'm not talking about talking to like a 5-year-old this way, you know? And all of my rules are, divine, infinite patience and compassion. That is what your child is owed from you. And so anything less than that, anything that's just you being a human being who has likes and dislikes and patience and impatience and all of that stuff, that is not allowed. And the way for me to become better and better and better as a parent is to embrace my divinity and reject my humanity more and more and more and more. Go into this like super high-minded and sort of like high vibe way of being and only be that. And literally, this might sound like very extreme as you're hearing it, because it's so much a part of who I am. As I'm describing it to you internally, I'm like, yeah, exactly. Doesn't sound crazy at all. Of course, I could just be like some sort of transcendent angel person all the time. If you're not there yet, you will be someday. So hurry it up, right? Keep going. And this idea that that I sort of started working up after listening to this Ram Dass podcast, I think speaks to this so well. And by the way, this does not have to just be about parenting. Like, you might be doing this to yourself in terms of like your relationship with another family member or your partner, or it might not be about relationships at all. It might be like, you know what? Every day when I commute to work, this is how I'm supposed to be. I'm just supposed to be super zen and embrace every, delay and red light and blah, 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 blah. Or when I'm doing work all day long at work, when I'm being confronted with frustrating things or, things not going well, I'm supposed to embrace each of those moments with absolute like unconditional love and acceptance, and no, I should just be non-reactive all the time. Like, how many times have we told ourselves this? So like I said, think about something in your life that you're doing that's like this to yourself, because I bet you there are many examples you could think of. And so think about that. And then we're going to kind of talk about what are Ram Dass's wise words. So one more little bit of background before I tell you this sort of lesson. So at the same time that Ram Dass was coming up in the 60s and 70s, there was another sort of spiritual leader coming up at the same time. And it was basically like almost this like spiritual entity, so to speak, called Emmanuel, who was being like channeled through another teacher. And so not to get into the weeds or anything, but just to give credit where credit's due. Whenever Ram Dass tells a story, he tells it as a conversation that he had with Emmanuel, not something that he just came up with on his own. So anyway, the story goes, or the concept goes, that, Ram Dass was at this point where he was, in conversation with Emmanuel and asking Emmanuel, like, why am I even here as a human? Like, what is the point of this human life? Like, what is my work? Why am I here? And basically Emmanuel's response was, well, you're here, you're sort of in a classroom here. You're a human, you're in a human body. This is the school that you're in. Why not take the curriculum? Meaning, your humanity is your curriculum. You're a human being. You have a human heart, human passions, human desires, human fears, excitement, loneliness, sadness, grief. All of the things that we experience in our human form is the curriculum. And so this idea of trying to like push away our humanity or our humanness and get super high, meaning like become super wise and see it all, and be in this like sort of enlightened state all of the time, or this higher state of being than your human state of being, you're really like pushing you're literally refusing to take the curriculum. Basically, you're pushing away the truth of this like version of yourself. This time around, here in this plane of existence, this incarnation of who you are is a human being. So why not trust that this wasn't a mistake? You didn't take this form by accident or by mistake. It's all part of sort of this lawful unfolding of the evolution and progression of this world and of you. So if you're here now as a human, that's your work. And to push it away in favor of this like ideal that doesn't exist, or it's just a fantasy or some sort of emulation of somebody else's state of being or something like that, is to really just be in a classroom without listening to the teacher, doing the homework, reading the book, watching the chalkboard, just sitting in your desk at school with your arms folded and your eyes closed. And if it was possible to close your ears closed too. So these moments when I cannot take my daughter's negativity anymore, but I'm caught in this refusal to just be true to who I am and say so or take care of that. I'm caught between these two things of like, well, this is the truth of who I am right now, that in my humanness, my human form, my egoic response to my kid is, can we shut up about how crappy your life is right now? Get over it. I can't listen to one more minute of it. That's how I really feel. And then on the other hand, being like, you're not allowed to feel that way. That's a mere mortal's way of feeling. And you are supposed to be supernatural. You are working on transcending and ascending. And the place that you're working on being doesn't feel that way about your daughter or your son or whomever. This is the truth of who I am right now. The version of me that I am right now does feel that way. And can I actually see that as the curriculum? Be true to it, don't deny it, and also work with it. And see, not because I need to get rid of it, not because I need to not feel that way anymore. There's something wrong with me feeling that way, but because there's something for me in feeling that way. Like actually allow myself to feel what I actually feel. You know, this whole thing is that we're doing here on planet Earth is is just a series of opportunities to experience the curriculum, to experience the truth of who we are and our circumstances and how we feel and the version of ourselves that we are right this minute without having to deny that. And the true sort of ascension that we're all seeking, even if we're just trying to just be a little bit better versions of ourselves or have a little bit less struggle than we do right now. The true path to that is not by denying reality or dismissing and refusing our humanity. Like none of us are going to become the Buddha this time around. So we don't need to be relentlessly pursuing that. And you know what the crazy irony of it is the more that we want that, the more you're definitely not going to get that, because true enlightenment doesn't have wanting. So someone who's really enlightened wouldn't want to be enlightened. They wouldn't want to achieve anything. It's one of those very frustrating paradoxes in the world. So maybe a little bit like deeper sort of esoteric conversation today, but really think about even like in the speech I was listening to of Ram Dass, he talked about putting down his physical personality, or sorry, his physical body, and putting down his personality. And I resonated deeply with the personality thing. Like I have definitely had tearful sessions with my practitioner talking about like, gosh, I can see my compulsions, I can see my patterns, and I just want to break free from them. I don't want to be in these patterns anymore. What I'm really doing is just hating my personality and wishing that I was free from even having any personality at all, because a pure personality is this psychological construct that we use as a tool and all of those things. And even though I know intellectually that we need that tool, and there's no such thing as being free from your personality for almost all of us. Maybe the Dalai Lama or something can ascend that high. But for the rest of us, there's no such thing as being free from our personality. And also it's not wrong to have a personality. That's like saying, I wish I didn't have arms and legs, because then I'm so dependent on them. And your arms and your legs and your hands and your feet, they're the tools that you use to walk around and pick up things and eat and all of those things. That's great. It's fine. but you aren't your arms and your legs or your hands and your feet. That's not who you are. Those are just tools. And even though I know that intellectually, on a more heart level, it just is very heartbreaking to me to see myself being dependent on my personality and almost sometimes ruled by it, like we all are, and things like that. So a little bit of a woo-woo, airy-fairy, maybe out there, maybe too heavy conversation for you all. But gosh, it really struck a nerve with me, and I just wanted to share it with you this week. And I think this podcast episode is coming out in July, if I'm looking at my calendar correctly, but still did want to talk a bit about the retreat. There still are some spots, particularly in the October 8th to October 12th set of dates. Would absolutely love to have conversations with any of you who are even just slightly intrigued about the retreat to see what's possible for you. Maybe you think you can't do it because of money. Maybe you think you can't do it because of time, or everybody needs you, or all the reasons that we come up with not to do something. But if it's intriguing to you, there's a deeper part of you that is drawn to it. And that part also deserves a place at the table. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about it and see if we can make it happen for you. You can find all the information out at the website, AnnKaplanParentCoach.com/fall retreat. You can also just reach out to me and I'll connect you with all the information that you need. If you got the link to this in your email, reply to the email. If you're watching the YouTube video, just look at the show notes. You got this, everybody. I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Bye, everyone.
The episode is over, but there's more waiting for you. You can grab my free workbook, Getting Kids to Listen the First Time, that walks you through the fundamental principles I teach all of my clients and applies them to this very universal parenting challenge. So if you're sick of repeating yourself all day long or just want to learn more about my style, you'll definitely want to go to bit.ly/kidswholisten. And if you're ready to work with me, let's meet. Set up a free call at bit.ly/KaplanCall, and let's create an action plan that gets you exactly where you want to go. And of course, links to all this goodness are in the show notes. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.